I can't believe we're in a timeline where FNAF has became a movie. This is, oh my god. Freddy Fazbear is real. So what did you think of the movie Springtrap?
Michael, don't leave me here. Michael, Michael,
I think he likes it.
Michael, help me.
So what did I think of this movie? It was good. I came out of the theaters just really liking the FNAF movie. I had a smile on my face the entire time, not because of like the references or just seeing the dialogue from the games being translated over to the screen, but just seeing FNAF reach this big point in its like franchise, right? Like this started out as just a quick team fusion game, just pointing and clicking at shit. And now, like, it has books, it has a fucking bigger games, and now it has a movie, and it's just, like, dude, being a FNAF fan, seeing, like, all this come up from, like, 2014 to now, it is genuinely wild to me, and I'm just so glad to be part of this franchise, dude. Now, like all the other video game adaptations we have gotten, FNAF is not safe. It has been getting burned by the critics like FNAF 6, and while I do think there are some reviews there that are just not justifiable, I think people need to stop saying that critics do not matter, because, well, they do. There's nothing you can do about it. When people look up a movie, they're gonna see the fat movie title and the fat failing score that they got, right? And people will be turned off, and in some ways, like, it's fine. Like, you kind of just have to accept the fact that people aren't gonna like your movie, or people aren't gonna like the shit that you're into. Yes, if you're part of the FNAF franchise, you're gonna love this movie, whether it's possibly bad or not. But from a general scope, there is cheesy writing, there is weird dialogue, there is like some confusing plot points, because to them, they've never played these games, they've never read the books, they've never seen MatPat explain every single thing. They just see a horror movie, right? And let me just tell you, it ain't really doing horror that well. And that's what gets into my next point, which is, I am so glad the people over at Blumhouse did not just try and adapt one game, because trying to adapt it's gonna be pretty hard to reach an hour and a half, right? So I'm glad they just took elements from FNAF 1, FNAF 2, Security Breach, what have you, and just try to make their own movie, try to make their own canon, not just for people that are into FNAF already, but for people that maybe want to get into the franchise, because fuck the games, fuck the books, I want to watch the movies. And to their credit, they semi-succeeded. I think a lot of it is just very cut and dry, definitely from a story standpoint, because it's just, hey, Mike has no job. If he doesn't keep the job, he loses his sister. So he gets a career as a security guard at Freddy Fazbear's, and now he must stay. Yeah, you kind of see the point, right? Oh yeah, also Mike's brother Garrett got kidnapped, and he's trying to find out who did it by doing fucking weird ass dreams, so yeah, that's also important. I think the plot of this movie is perfectly serviceable. If they really tried to adapt the confusing and weird-ass lore that FNAF is known for, then you can kick all the non-FNAF fans out the curb, because this is for us. Like, no, I'm glad that they just kind of took elements, made just a kind of semi-dry story, but just kind of put a bunch of, like, iconic FNAF things and, you know, just making it into a fun movie. At least for me, because I'm just already into it. And that's kind of what this part is, because you kind of have to split the movie into two scopes, which is people that have been into FNAF for a while and people that literally just know, like, you kind of get the idea, but if you drop bombshells, like Vanessa saying, oh yeah, there's just dead bodies in there, and Mike's just cool with it because he already knows, and it's like, yeah, like, there's just some stuff that just they never explain and was just kind of dropped, and it just didn't, it's not gonna make sense to people, especially with Afton or fucking Rank, I forgot his Raglan, started with an R, especially with Afton just kind of being at the beginning and then being at the end, and it's just like, okay, he just kind of appears. But I mean, I think a lot of people could just, you know, assume, right? There is just not a lot of fleshed out like things or like setup. I would have loved to see like an actual scene of the kids being killed. Don't get me wrong, the 8-bit opening cutscene was cool, but for the most part, no one knows who the fuck that is, like what the fuck that is, because they're not into the games, they're not into the books or whatever. A lot of things weren't fleshed out really well, and the stuff that they did drop on us, although was cool, for me, it's just not gonna make sense to a lot of people, and I think that's kind of where the movie like semi dies down, which I mean, it's fine. I think because I didn't watch with anyone that like didn't know FNAF. Like people have like a general understanding, like, oh, I know who this is, I know who this is, I know what's happening here. For those who are just not into FNAF, just them dropping that, oh yeah, there's just dead children in there, and oh yeah, kids died. Oh yeah, Afton's my father. It's like, yo, what the fuck? Like, you don't know what the hell is happening, dude. So you just kind of have to, you know, just kind of look at it and be like, okay. There definitely could have been a better way to just kind of set up and flesh out a lot of the more iconic like scenes, like obviously the killing of the children, like obviously just William Afton like as a character, like how, like why is this all happening. It all just kind of happened, especially like all at the latter half of the movie, because on the first half it's really just Mike, it's really just Abby, but like they just kind of dropped the fact that there's just dead kids in there, and it's like, well, okay, like, and it's just nothing's explained. So I think overall it's fine. Like it is, like, I think to a general person this is like okay, like we are reaching like 5 out of 10 here, like just levels of like okay. So I don't know, that's just me. And you know what really freds my bears? This movie isn't even a horror. This movie got a big fat PG-13 on it, meaning blood is now ketchup, and all your favorite scenes have been watered down with, well, water. So, look, I'm gonna be genuinely honest and say that apart from the introduction and the bite of 23, which I hope y'all know what I'm talking about, this horror scenes were just kind of whatever. Like, a lot of them you either just didn't see or were just cut away, which, look, I get it, right? You don't want, with this rating, like, you're kind of like limited to what you can do, and that's perfectly fine. I just felt like, I mean, you could have went a little more farther in the Springlock scene, man. Like, the 8-bit one, like, don't get me wrong, like, bro was spazzing out. I was like, I was smiling, I was clapping, I was loving the fuck out that scene. But it still was water. Yeah, it was watered down. And it's like, I just felt like it just didn't do much. And you know what's crazy? This is a horror movie, when in reality, it's actually a horror movie. This was the least horror I've ever horrored in my life, especially with the scene with Mike, Abby, Vanessa were just hanging out with the animatronics and the song was playing. And fucking Bonnie fell down and had his thumbs up. I was like, bro, when's the fantasy and fun gonna end? Where's my blood and tears? Like, yeah, dude. Where's these vengeful? Where are they? Aren't they vengeful? Like, where's the vengeful spirits in the spirits? And don't get me wrong, there were definitely like some also like just cool sequences from like Mike's dream where like he was seeing like these kids, and I just thought that was cool, but like none of it was just generally scary, at least for me. Although if I'm being honest, the people in my theater also just weren't scared, although they were scared. The only time people were genuinely scared was the first balloon boy like jump scare, and after that people were like, yeah. There was just nothing about it being genuinely scary aside from the introduction to Chompa 23 and like some of like the dream sequences. So it was just a matter of just, this is more of a suspenseful thriller than a horror movie, you know? Like it's whatever. I I still genuinely liked it, although I am kind of nothing really shivered my timbers, right? Like I'm kind of still a little angry at the Springlock scene. I think that could have been done way better. Fuck the limiter. Let's move it up to M, guys. I feel like I've been pretty negative towards this movie, but I want to point out that I still came out loving it by the end. I still came out clapping towards the credits and smiling because I just love this franchise, man. I have been part of this franchise since 2015, and just seeing its growth come from a game to a book series to just now like a full-blown like movie that's doing really well, it's just so cool to see. Are there problems? Yes, but it's problems that mostly stem from a general point of view and not just, you know, being a FNAF fan. And I'm willing to look at that. As a FNAF fan, I give this movie like a 7 or 8, and as like a general movie, I mean, it's like a 6. It's okay. Would I recommend this movie if you've never been into FNAF? Yeah, because even if you were, you're not gonna understand it. It's new canon. So it's just a matter of just wanting to go into it because you're just interested. Don't worry about like reviews or whatever, right? I mean, unless like that is what gets you into something. So with that being said, I mean, just go watch Five Nights at Freddy's. But before you do that, I have so many positives to say because this video isn't over. So stick with me. I just gotta say real quick, the animatronic designs look so fucking good. I loved it. I love the way they look. They just look so good from their games. Like it's just so cool. And now we can finally end the discussion that Bonnie is blue and not purple. The pizzeria, like I don't remember if it's a 1-for-1 creation, but like the pizzeria in the movie just looks so good. And I'm just like, man, I want to have fantasy and fun there. So it's like a lot of just the set design and everything was just so cool. I thought the cast was also really good. While the writing was like a little cheesy, it was still fun. And I think, you know, FNAF is a little cheesy in of itself sometimes with its games and everything. So look, if you want to get into FNAF, go watch some gameplays, go watch some early Markiplier, or go check out the games or the books. I genuinely recommend the books. They feel like a modern Goosebumps, if I'm being honest. Is this a great movie? In my opinion, yes. Is it a great movie for a general audience? It's fine. It's serviceable. Thank you, Blumhouse. Thank you, Scott, for making this, dude. I'm just so happy, dude.